Hello, welcome everyone. Today I'm going to model practice activity number 1, which is called CS bracket. Now you'll notice that this bracket looks quite complicated, and in fact it's relatively easy to model, even though we'll be using a lot of different techniques. I'm going to be modeling it in Fusion 360, which is the computer-aided design or CAD package that we've decided to use in our class. And it's a feature-based modeling program where you build up features until you've got the model that you desire. So in this case, we're going to start off with a slot here at the bottom. We'll build up this cube that sits on top. We'll do this 45-degree chamfer, which sits in the middle here, and then we'll add the 2 holes at the side. Okay. Now I've got this next to me for a reference, so I won't be jumping back and forth too much to this drawing, and you have a copy of this on our learner management system, so you should have full access to this. Okay, let's get started. Okay, so when you open Fusion 360, you're faced with virtually nothing. You've got this grid reference here. We've got a navigation cube in the top right hand corner, which if I click on it, I can navigate around, which is super helpful. I use this for 99% of my... Okay, just had to stop the video there for a second. Yeah, so I was just explaining the navigation cube is excellent for navigating your way around the workspace. Okay, so the first thing I'm going to do is create this slot that sits at the bottom here. And the important references that we need are the fact that it's 114 millimeters between centers. There it is. And it has a radius of 32, or in other words, a diameter of 64. Okay, so remember the diameter is twice the radius. So there it is, radius 32, that's what the R stands for, R32, which means it has a diameter of 64. Okay. Now, the first thing we start off with generally is creating a 2-dimensional sketch. And I create one by clicking on this Create Sketch icon up in the top left-hand corner. So let's just click on that. And you can see it actually gives me 3 work planes that I could choose to start creating my sketch on. Now, you could create your own. There's no problems with that. And in later videos, we will be creating our own. But for now, one of these 3 will be more than fine for me. I'm just going to click this bottom one here, and when I do that, the screen will orientate so I'm looking straight down on it, and you just watch that. There it is. Now I'm in sketch mode now, and that can be easily identified by the fact that I've got this stop sketch button which appears here. So when I'm finished doing my sketch, I have to remember to stop the sketch. That's very important. Okay, so what do we do? How do we create a sketch? Well, a sketch is a 2-dimensional drawing. And if I just click the drop down here, you can see I've got a whole heap of tools that I can use to create a profile. I've got a line, rectangle, circle, arc, polygon, ellipse, slot, spline, keeps on going. The one we're going to use first is called the slot. And it's actually got an option for center to center slot, and that's perfect for us. We know the center between it, we know the diameter of it. This one will be great for us. So that's just there, that's under sketch, slot, center to center slot. And if I just click on that, and you can see that it actually tells me next to the cursor what it's looking for. It's actually looking for select start center point. So if I just bring this over close to the origin point, the origin point's where my 2 axes meet, you can see that it actually jumps on and grabs onto that origin point. I like to always attach to the origin point when modeling. I think it's a great habit to get into, much better than drawing your sketch out in the middle of nowhere. Okay, so if I just bring that over and I just select on the origin point there, you can see that now it's actually asking me for the next point. And it actually grabs onto the axes. Okay, so it often we'll do lines at 90 degrees to another line. And you see it easily grabs onto them. Okay, so when I bring this open, it grabs onto that axis, and it's actually asking me in the highlighted blue text for the distance between the centers. Now remember, that was 114 millimeters. So if I just type that in and hit enter, that'll lock that in. And now the next thing it's asking for is the diameter. Okay, so remember that diameter was 64 millimeters. So if I type that in and press enter, it'll lock it in. And when we're doing diameters, for whatever reason, we have to press the enter key twice. So there it is. And that looks exactly what the drawing looks like. You can see that profile looks very, very similar. And I'm very happy with that. Now, when I'm finished drawing my sketch, I have to stop my sketch. And if I just hit stop sketch here, it'll orientate itself out back into the 3D space. I'll just bring that around there so it looks a little bit more like my drawing, just for ease of navigation. Okay. Notice that my sketch is created over here under the sketch folder. And if I wanted to, I could rename that sketch just by selecting it, and giving it a few seconds, and selecting it again, and I can actually name that slot. It's a good habit to get into naming your sketches, because in a model you might have 10, 20, 30, 40 different sketches, and if they're all named sketch 1, sketch 2, sketch 3, it's a little bit hard to find it. And the bottom here we've got a timeline, and you can see the very first thing that I've done is I've created a sketch, and as we go through the model you'll see this timeline grow. And the timeline's a great way of going back and editing features later on. Okay. Now, at the moment, it's just a two-dimensional sketch. We need to give it some solid body, and you can see it's actually 19 mil high. So if I just go back to Fusion, the next tab that I'm going to be using is the Extrude tab. Now that's used for creating three-dimensional objects. So if I just select the Extrude, it's asking me for a profile to select. If I just select somewhere in the middle there, you can see that it's selected it, goes to the blue feature. I could drag this up if I wanted to. It needs to be 19 millimeters, so I'm just going to type 19 there. I'll press enter and that'll lock that in. Actually, I should change my visual style so it matches more yours. There we go. There it is. Okay, I had it transparent there from another job. My apologies, but yours will look more like that. Okay, which is a solid object, and we can navigate around that object. And you can see that, yes, it is indeed a solid object. Okay. Now the next thing I'm going to do is create this cube, which sits on top. It's 64 millimeters wide, and it's 64 millimeters across. Okay. So again, I'm going to start creating a sketch. Select my sketch. Now this time, not only do I have 3 planes that were available to me before, I've actually got the features of my the model that's in there. So I can actually select the top of that, and now I'm drawing on the top of that slot that I created. Now, rectangles are very, very common features. So common, in fact, that if you go to Sketch, Rectangle, you've got your options here. You'll notice that's already up here. Okay, so you could either go Sketch, Rectangle, 2-point rectangle, or you could just select that one right there. Now, something to take note of, as I drag my cursor along, it changes, doesn't it? It goes from this black crosshairs, and it actually goes to these, let me do the symbol, there it is. Yep, that's why I've got a webcam. It goes to a blue X. Now that blue X is telling me that when it creates the first point, it's going to attach it to that existing line. Okay, and that's what I want. So I need to move that down there and attach it to that existing line. Now I haven't press the mouse button just yet, okay? Because I need to lock in some dimensions. Now it's automatically going to lock 1 at 64, okay, because that was designated by the radius, or sorry, the diameter of the slot. But if I use my tab key, I can tab between the dimensions like that. So I'd like you just to tab to the upper dimension and type in 64 millimeters. Okay, hit enter, and that will lock that in. And you can see if I grab that square, I can move it side to side. Can't move it up and down because it's actually attached to those lines. I'm just going to move it out the way over here so the next step looks a little bit more obvious. Now I want this in the center. Now some people would just drag that to the center and say, yep, that's good enough, but it's not. Okay, we need to lock it in mathematically with the center. The first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to create a reference dimension. Okay, so if I go sketch, right down the bottom here, sketch dimensions, click that. I'm going to click this bottom line here. I just press the scope a few times. It's already attached to one of the existing lines. That's a great feature to know, that if you get into trouble, just press escape 3 or 4 times and it'll exit out of everything. Sketch, sketch dimension, select the bottom line, pull that out, keep that there. And what this is saying is, this is a dimension that you can't change because it's locked by another feature, but you can have it here for reference only if you like. That's fine with me. I'm going to hit OK. And you can see it puts 2 little brackets on either, or a bracket either side of it to tell me and remind me that it's a reference dimension. See how that looks different to this dimension, which I can edit? Okay. The next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to create a point. This is one of the features I don't like about Fusion 360, is that if I want to reference the center of a line, I have to create a point there first. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to bring this along. Yes, it's got that blue X, which means it's going to be attached to the line. And at the center point, it's going to change. It's got a blue X and then it's got a triangle just above it. That tells me that that's the midpoint of that line. So you need to just drag that along and wait until you get to that symbol. When you get to that symbol, just press the button and you see it's pointed a point in. Now, I don't want to add another point. So again, I just press escape a couple of times, it exits out of that for me. Now I'm going to create sketch, sketch dimension, put that point there and that point there. I'll create that sketch. Now that dimension is going to be half of this one, isn't it? Now I don't know about you, but it's quite late at night here, so my math skills are not that good. I'm just going to select that dimension. It'll bring that up in there. If I use the /2, I'll say divide by 2, press enter, and it'll already do the math for me. And it jumps it into the middle just like that. Okay. Now that I'm happy with my sketch, I'm going to hit stop, and I'm going to extrude that up. And if you look at your drawing, you'll notice that that needs to be extruded to a height of 45 millimeters. Okay. But one thing to note, just make sure that the operation is on join. It's not on cut, intersect, or new body. It has to be on join. It'll join it then to the slot that we created earlier. Okay. If we just have a quick look at our timeline, we've got the first sketch that we created, the extrude, the second sketch that we created, and the extrude. Okay. So that's representing how we're doing it. Now we have to create this 45-degree chamfer in the middle here. Okay. Let's jump back over to Fusion. If I need to center it, I'll just click on the, I should be able to just press center mouse button, pan that across there. Okay, now it would be great if I had a work plane right in the middle there, then I could draw a sketch on there. Okay, so I need to create a work plane. So if I go under construct, you can see with the construct tab or drop down here, I've actually got the option to create a mid plane. I'll just read that out. Constructs a construction plane at the midpoint between 2 faces or work planes. So if you just select that, so that's construct mid plane, And it's asking me for 2 planes and it'll create one in between. So if I select that side, use my navigation cube to spin around, select the other side, you can see that it's created a work plane in the middle. Now I'm happy with that, so I'm just going to hit OK. Let's move that back around. The problem I'm going to face in a second, I'm going to draw on that work plane, but I won't be able to see what I'm drawing because it's a solid object. So I'm just going to go into my visual settings, visual style, and I'm going to go wireframe with hidden edges, just like that. Now I can actually see through my part. So I'm going to create a sketch. I'm going to select that work plane that I just created. It will orientate itself around there. Just make that a bit bigger for you. And I'm going to have to draw a line, cut that off, and add some dimensions to lock it in. Okay. If we just look here, it's 13 mil in from the edge here. It's 13 mil in from the bottom edge as well. Okay. So what I'm going to do is go sketch, line. I'm going to sketch out of here. Now I'm going to make sure it's not attached to any of these points. Somewhere in the middle. I'm going to cut that across somewhere about there. I'm going to bring this up. Okay. Now see what I was looking for? See that light dotted blue line that gets created? That says that that's in line here. So when I bring that across there, I just hit OK to that. That was a right click. OK. It's created that line. Okay. Now what I would like to do is actually dimension from this edge to here. I know that's 13 millimeters, same down the bottom here. So if I try and add a dimension and select that point, okay, can't actually select that point. Okay, so I just hit escape a couple of times to get out of that. So I need to create a point. So that's sketch, point, and I'm just going to zoom in by using my mouse key to zoom in, the scroll, and I'm just going to draw a point. See how it actually attaches there? We're going to have to do the same down here. Attach it in there. Hit OK to exit out of that. Sketch, dimension. Now I should be able to select those 2 points, bring up the dimension, type in 13, enter. Okay. Now it's actually moved this one across. Now I don't know 100% why it's done that. But it did it with my practice one as well. I had to, so we can move it back across if we wanted to, but that wouldn't be great because it might move out of the way. See how it goes. I might just did reattach itself there. If I go sketch, sketch dimension, that point there, type in 13. Yeah, no, didn't like it, did it? Won't cancel that. All I have to do, I'm going to bring this across to there. Okay, bring that out, and I'm going to lock it in. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to select that point, press and hold Control, select the other point, using the right mouse button, select that, and I'm going to fix it on the horizontal and vertical, just like that. Okay. Now I've had to create my triangle so it actually goes out past here so that I can actually select it later. So I'm actually happy with that. Now these don't need to be constrained. They are happy to sit out as long as they're sitting out past. So I'm just going to hit stop sketch, orientate around. What I'm going to do is I'm going to change my visual style back to shaded with visible edges only, and I'm going to extrude this particular triangle. So what I'm going to do, instead of create, we'll hit the extrude there, we'll select that triangle, And what I'm going to do is change the direction. Okay, I'm going to have it symmetric. I'm going to have it, instead of a new body, I'm going to have it cut into the other body. And I'm going to go a distance of, it's 38. You see that it'll cut it all the way across. It's actually 38 each side, 38 in total. So it's actually 38 divided by 2. So I've just added that /2, hit enter, and there it is. Okay, locked in. Excellent. It's looking really, really good now. It's looking just like that, except for my 2 holes. Okay, so I've got 2 holes, diameter 22 for each one. Okay. Now under my modify tab, I should have a hole. No, maybe it's under create. Create. Ah, there it was. Create a hole. Okay. Now, what it's actually going to ask us is, tell me where you would like it to be placed. So I'd like my hole to be placed there, and I should be able to select. No, I have to do it individually, do I? Okay, so I selected my face. Now it's going to ask me for a reference, so I'm just going to see next to reference, I'm going to hit the select here, and it should tell me, allow me to select this edge as a reference, and that'll make it concentric. So that hole will now be aligned to the center of that. See, it just jumped over there. Okay. Now if I just bring this up out of the way so it's not in the way of my head that's on the bottom of the screen here, I can change the diameter of that to 22. Okay. If I just hit OK, it'll lock that hole in. There it is. Navigate the cube around. Again, create a hole. There it is. Select that face. Yes, perfect. Look how far out the way it is. I want to reference that hole. I want to reference it to this edge. Jump it over. It's set at 22 from last time. So I'm just going to hit OK. There it is. Okay. So that's all the part done. That's all the features. Yep, looks identical. Now I'm going to save my work. So I'm going to go File. Well, I've already saved it. Save. Excellent. And it's going to save it in my folders. Actually, I might do a separate tutorial on setting up a folder. And I'm just going to call this practice activity 1. Hit save. Fantastic. Have a quick look at our timeline. Here's our timeline down at the bottom. You can see here, if I just scroll that back, I can actually step through, play that, and it goes through the steps that I did to create it. Okay. Excellent. Thank you for watching. Make sure to catch me in class if you have any questions. If you get stuck at any point, I'm more than happy to help out. Thank you.